Hi, hello, welcome to Spell Day. We're covering spell every single day of the year from the 5e PHB +3. Those +3 spells are homebrew spells. We're at +1 at the moment. You can back in the playlist to find it. Today's spell is Mending. Transmutation cantrip, casting time for 1 minute, range of touch, components rebel somatic material, 2 lodestones, duration instantaneous. The spell repairs a single break or tear in an object you touch, such as a broken chain link, 2 halves of a broken key, a torn cloak, or a leaking wineskin. As long as the break or tear is no larger than 1 foot in any dimension, you mend it, leaving no trace of the former damage. The spell can physically repair a magic item or construct, but the spell can't restore magic to such an object. Okay, what are its limitations? I guess one thing is this is the best way to recycle rope, or to be able to cut it up, use it for other things, and then mend it back together. Less than 1 foot. But then we come to the 1 foot scenario. I mean, 1 foot in any dimension. 1 foot is quite a decent dimension when it's in a 3D space, and any tear within that. Any keys, the chain example, swords, spears, amulets. You could go on to an extent, like a lot of damage to structures won't be the best, but a single support beam? Feasible. And don't get me wrong, while you can't just like touch a massive building and it forms itself back together, the fact that you can, oh god, alright, in a magically capable society, mending's gonna be picked up, world building wise, mending's gonna be picked up, and architecture is gonna follow knowing mending is a thing. As in, support beams, certain parts of structures, independent pieces are gonna try to fit within that 1 foot that 1 foot dimension. So, if something breaks or fails, it's just a cantrip. It's just a minute and a cantrip. Again, that support beam example, while there's like massive dwarven pillars and, you know, the stereotypical tropes of gigantic architecture, sections of it might be specifically built to fit within the dimensions that mending can actually affect. Now, we also come into the question of the any dimensioned. So when it comes to things like fabric or paper, let's say it's a massive tapestry. If it's ripped across the whole side of it, it's like 3 feet long. Well, mending's not gonna work on that. Until, if you bundle both sides of it to then fit within 1 foot cube, does it then work? If it's a flexible material, does it just have to then fit within the 1 foot space, then be able to be mended, or does the original damage have to be within a 1 foot dimension? Not to mention, anything close to like a paper shredder, once you find the right piece, mending is going to fix that. There's also the question of how close does mending have to be for it to fix? Does it have to be touching the object again? There's also the question of, does it actually make material? Because let's say you have a broken, like, do you need the second piece? Because it doesn't say you need to put these 2 pieces back together. It just says you touch an object that's broken, and if the tear or damage is not more than that dimension, which I'm also assuming would count the other half of the object, if you don't have a second object. Okay, so let's say that pillar example. If you have both ends of the pillar and you put it together, technically the damage now fits within that cube. If you only have 1/2 of the pillar, I'd say the damage now extends past that 1 foot cube, because the tear is technically larger, because the other side of it is, I don't know, if a giant ran through, it's like half a block away. Now let's say the entire object does fit within that space, like a broken key. If you have just a piece of a broken key, if you then cast it, technically the total damage covers the 1 foot cube dimension, because the key fits within that space, and technically that is damage. And the reason I bring up that, does this manifest does this just make the material? Because in reality, when something breaks, most of the time it's into a lot of small pieces. It's rarely just a perfect split. Like again, the pillar example. Let's say a giant walking through a tavern somewhere, a roof pillar breaks, or support beam, it's flown across the town. They bring the support beam back, and they're repairing it with mending. Do they need, like Monsters Inc., to get every single little door chip, or pillar chip, support beam chip, man, to then have it actually work again? Or do they just need like the 2 biggest halves and mending will take care of the rest? And then where does it get the material from? Do you need blank material? Like if you have a copper key, you just need part of the copper key and then just bits of copper, like, oh, you throw in copper coins and the transmutation molds it back into the shape of the full key, because that's the side of the object you're touching. Or if you touch a slightly chipped copper coin next to 1/2 of a broken key, does the key then get converted into the material that then finishes the coin? Because again, what's the limit of breaking as well? Like chip damage? If it is chip damage, mending would just be used when passing any statue or building or construct, even if it's a single brick. because it's an object. A brick would then just have its chips repaired, if you don't need to actually gather those. Does it use a material that's already available within the 1 foot cube, what's already available within the structure? Does the pillar then take from what remains, and it's like weirdly stretched and warped around that bit? Magically fused? There's also the physically repair a magic item or construct, but doesn't return the magic to it. Does that count permanent teleportation circles? Can you find a scraped up, and then, okay, what counts as the full damage to teleportation circle? Like, if it's a single rune, that's a part of a larger structure. Does Mending only count for that rune, or the whole structure? And if it's the whole structure, then it doesn't work. But then, oh man, okay. So, in short, when it comes to this spell, and it's come up in my games a ton, or a decent amount, ask your GM. That's what this one comes down to, is... It, again, like a lot of other spells, too little of a description with a lot of potential impact and a lot of questions and specific scenarios that just can't be covered within a short spell description. So ask your GM, but also down below in the comments, how do you think Mending works? What are its limits? What can it actually achieve? What can you do with it? I mean, 9 out of 10. Like, I've seen this regularly picked up in some games. It's good. It repairs things. If something breaks, if you've broken a sword, if someone's armor was damaged. Oh, does that count for acid damage as well? Could you reuse this to repair equipment from oozes? Do undead count as objects you can repair? There's the rating. See you in the comments.